big opportunity came when my brother Ted and I went on vacation down to the Caribbean, where I got to see him in action with all those gorgeous girls.
Last time just wasn't long enough. The guys had to break up on the beach. Well, how about this one? You can see over. All the girls ain't like you. The other one is so nice to me and said, hey, be my baby. You're the one I need. But I want you all to myself. Come on, see over. Before we get caught in trouble. Come on, see over.
Rico!
See you later tonight, Iron Thighs. I have to go do my nails. I want to look good for you all over my body.
You already do, baby.
Wow! She practically tore your bathing suit off.
Hey, I think she was hot. You should see her friend. Oh, by the way, fixed you up with her tonight.
Wow! A date for me? Thanks, big brother.
Anything for you, pal. But listen, tonight, don't embarrass me, okay? So when you got this chick in your room, right, you start banging away at her, make sure she's really screaming loud, all right?
Screaming?
Sure.
Why, do I hurt her?
No, it's for the effect. Just think about it. You're in there banging away and she's screaming. Your buddies are outside, okay? They hear her screaming your name and they're going, boy, that Danny, he's hung like a horse. Yeah. Hey, you want another trick? Always works for me. What? Take a big wad of toilet paper, right? Shove it down your pants. Okay? That way she'll see you. Nice big bulge down there. She's got something to work with, you know what I mean? Yeah. We're gonna have a good time tonight, buddy. Yeah.
The following film podcast frequently contains adult content, including foul language and descriptions of adult situations. Spoilers for the films discussed occur often. Listener discretion is advised. Now take it away, Dr. Rausch.
They must be destroyed on sight.
Yes, and I know Hangouts is going away. Thank you. You don't have to keep telling me.
Oh, does it actually inform you now?
Yeah, the little thing comes up and says, Hangouts are going away August 1st, so you're fucked, or whatever.
Stupid.
So what are we doing after this?
StreamYard.
No, well, yeah, we could do StreamYard.
StreamYard.
Yeah.
Mobcam StreamYard.
It's basically like just like a browser run kind of like OBS kind of thing where
We could call each other on our own phones and record it to like a tape cassette player and then upload that. Oh, that'd be fucking call it the shit.
We're gonna record on fucking styrofoam cups and string.
I was gonna say I'll have to buy a lot of string, but we'll get there. I was gonna say, just Daniel, grow your beard hair that long, and we'll just weave it between us.
That'll take a couple of weeks. So you know.
I was gonna say at least a month.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. It's They Must Be Destroyed on Sight, episode 172, and I'm your host Lee. So they taught me how to have an orgy, Russell.
Yep.
And I'm joined by my co-host Daniel. When in doubt, whip it out, Harper. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't have any hors d'oeuvres here.
Hors d'oeuvres? No?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Hors d'oeuvres. I think that's how we pronounce it. Yeah.
And we're also joined by Paul. Easy as fucking a tomato Romali. How you doing, sir?
pretty good. I just got kneed in the groin about 3 seconds ago.
And now you just want the woman to leave the room.
Just go.
Yeah.
Total gutter ball.
Yeah.
Just go and have a threesome with my buddy. That's the answer to that.
Yeah. We're back on sex comedies for at least a couple weeks, and we're going to be looking at a Troma sex comedy in the first turn-on from 1983. But before we get into that, we do have a couple comments to get through here from the Facebook group. No YouTube comments this time, unfortunately.
Oh, how are we going to live without those?
No. And people can't see it, but Paul had a double lock there for a brief second. Looking like fucking Glenn Danzig or some shit. So Cameron Sullivan says he makes a film recommendation. He's doing this now, just like Jeff Williams. He's starting to make some film recommendations. So he recommends The Burglar from 1957. He says you guys might dig discussing this heist flick for a future episode since it has an unusual atmosphere, much like Tension, 1949. Has another bizarre sibling duo who are too close for their own good, although they're technically half-siblings, so it's not incestuous like Scarface. Has a carnival inn chase with your in-your-face imagery like Lady from Shanghai. Whether you guys find it melodramatic or rather fun, you guys might still have fun with this heist film. Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, we're never going to have to actually pick a film for ourselves again, Lee. We're just gonna, yeah.
Our
The audience is
listeners are
going to
like-
pick for us, yeah.
The list that our fucking listeners have given us now, we could probably podcast for the next 10 years straight.
Yeah,
Just
I
doing
find
this
it
film.
easier for them to make the decisions. I like this. It's good.
Mhm.
Even with my
You
own
bet.
podcast, just let them do their own thing.
Yeah, they can pull the strings, as Boris
Yes,
Karloff.
well, pander to the lowest common denominator.
No, actually, it's Bela Lugosi in
Pull the strings.
Pulls the Strings. Yes,
Fuck you! Get in this cold water.
Karloff, fuck that limey son of a bitch, or whatever the fuck it was from Midwood. Yeah. Apparently, they didn't like each other all that much. Now we have Jeff Williams with his recommendation of the week, and this time it's Utu from 1983 Redux version. When a Maori scout working with the colonial army comes across a massacred village, he becomes a tad bit dissatisfied with the situation and decides to exact Utu, which is revenge. An engaging action western out of New Zealand, directed by Jeff Murphy, The Quiet Earth. Oh, okay, I'm already on this. And co-starring the great Bruno Lawrence, Smash Palace, who was also in The Quiet Earth. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Should just do like an Australian month at some point.
Yeah.
Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah. You had me with a Western from New Zealand, honestly. All right, I'm down.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, that's it for comments. We don't have anything we watched in the last little while, do we? Anybody?
Nope.
That we want to talk about? All right. Easy enough.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to play some podcast promos and some music that I painstakingly had to source for this fucking film because there's no official soundtrack release. So, and I'll get into that too because it's a little bit of a bugbear of mine at this point. But for some of the songs on the soundtrack. But we'll be right back.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of her.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
doll popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be a
could you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
even get you down in French. But nothing came out, just continual entropy. So I went home and reprogrammed my mood. You came out as a psycho-syncopated melody. Active-falling tragedy. Why don't you let our fears come home and see me? The Jesus synthesizers. Call your name out loud. Try to scream above the madding crowd. But nothing came out, just emphatic modulation. So I went home and readdressed my fears in envelopes on the schizo-disco generation. I still got sensation. Why don't you let your fears come home and see me? The Jesus synthesizers. 'Cause I'm just the way you used to oscillate me. When you're controlled to rotate me. Now your metallic thing is no longer simple shit. For so long my mental membrane was synthesized me. Don't despise me, can you without me once I tried to tell you how I felt. Tried to even get you down in rent. But nothing came out, just continual entropy. So I went home and reprogrammed my mood. You came out as a psycho-syncopated melody. Active-falling tragedy. Why don't you allow your fears come home and see me? The Jesus synthesizers. 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 The Jesus
All right, the first turn on from 1983.
I love you!
Think back, way back, and remember your first turn on? Yes, it's the first turn on, the new smash comedy that will make your wildest dreams come true.
If you wish hard enough, your dream can come true.
Wow! Yes, what happens when four innocent kids at summer camp and their older, more mature nature counselor
Sinsemia!
get trapped in a cave-in and must wait to get rescued? They'll have their first turn on.
First time I got laid. Shit, there's been so many.
The first turn-on's about young boys. The first turn-on's about young girls.
Am I good enough for you?
The first turn-on's about young love.
That buzz. Ooh, I want it so bad.
And romance. It's about naive teenagers and mature adults. It's about parents.
Where's my daddy?
And their kids. It's about summer camp.
We've had fun, but we've matured.
And having a rollicking good time. The first turn-on's crawling with summertime action and adventure.
I don't care what you do, just get that thing off of me!
It's a laugh riot right up your alley. So leave your troubles behind. The first turn-on's a pisser of a comedy.
Put up your hands and turn around real slow.
you're sure to have a real ball. You'll cave in with laughter. So drop what you're doing. Grab a seat and see the movie everyone's cheering about.
Oh, 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 oh.
It's the first turn on.
Wow. We've had fun, but we've matured.
Directed by Michael Hertz and Lloyd Kaufman. Written by Georgia Harrell, Michael Hertz, Lord Kaufman, Stuart Struton, and Mark Torgel. And it is starring Georgia. There's a big cast here.
Clearly, this was a film that needed 5 writers. Yeah.
Yeah, and a cast of like thousands, and most of them who never did another film.
This has a cast as large as Ben fucking Hur.
Mm-hmm. So this is a truncated cast list I'm reading, by the way, guys. So once I'm done, just let that sink in a bit.
Just say
they
one
were all
name.
Italian names.
I was gonna say, just say one name and be done with it. There you go. Like that. Boom. It's truncated, and we're going.
There's only one. Sheila Kennedy is the only one we really care about.
And we're
we'll talk a lot about Sheila Kennedy. Georgia Harrell is Michelle Farmer. Michael Sandville as Mitch Stud. Googie Griss as Henry Putz, and he's one of the few guys who's actually had a long career in Hollywood. Like he's still making films today, apparently.
Awesome.
Yeah, John Flood as Danny Anderson. Heidi Miller as Annie Goldberg. Al Pia as Alfred Zitzler. Betty Pia as Miss Anderson. Gilda Gumbo is Madame Gumbo. Laura Grills is Lucy the Hooker. Christina Mary Witzel as Barbara Billingham. Frank Trent Saldino as Joff. David Berardi as Johnny the Maniac. Ted Henning as Ted. Donna Winter as Mona the Ballbuster. What a great name.
I'm still trying to figure out how Madame Gumbo got her name.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just...
Who knows? Sheila Kennedy, Penthouse Pet, Sheila Kennedy as Dream Girl. Mark Torgel.
As herself, essentially.
Yeah, basically as herself. Yeah, very much a lot of herself in this film.
Very much herself.
Mark Torgel, who Paul and I know, if you follow Troma films, is also the Toxic Avenger. Yeah. Although he's only had a few roles actually in sort of Troma films, like Toxic Avenger, then like a sequel where he plays the evil version of Melvin, and then he's done like a shit ton of editing. That's where his career sort of went.
Yeah.
Donna Barnes as Jane, Theo Fergus as Kathy, Steve Hollander as Stinky, Vincent D'Onofrio in his debut role as Lobotomy, and then Russell Matthews as Pissing Johnny, and that's his only credit. So, what a credit to have on IMDb. I'm Pissing Johnny.
I mean, to be frank, it was a 10-minute scene. I mean,
he really had to go.
This, Paul. It's amazing. Oh,
he really had to go. That guy.
It's filling my bladder. It was a long thing.
Yeah, it very much was. So, synopsis here from someone called Lisa Inderl on IMDb says, a group of teenage summer campers and one counselor share the stories of their first sexual experience when an avalanche traps them in a cave. And yeah, that's what this movie is, basically.
Yes.
So, I should mention before we get into our thoughts on this is the fourth and final of Troma's sort of initial sex comedies that they did. They did 3 before this: Squeeze Play from 1980, Waitress from 1982, and Stuck on You from 1983. But this film's kind of important in their history because I feel like this is sort of a jump-off point for what sort of becomes the Troma formula, even though they go into horror. Just sort of the way this movie's done is kind of what they do with their in-house productions going forward. So... Yeah, so first we'll go to Paul. What are your sort of initial thoughts on this one?
It's a fun film. I didn't watch this film before. Like, I've seen Squeeze Play. I've seen the other Tromas. I actually haven't seen this one. So it was so familiar to me the first turn. I was like, I know this film. What the fuck? And then I watched it. I was like, Troma Productions. Like, oh, here we go. You know? and the thing is, though, sometimes sex comedies can be a little bit like, oh, God, we're doing sex comedies. I've seen one before. You know, that kind of thing. And then Troma showed up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be different. And then it was. It was fucking crazy. Then you had the guy shooting fucking, selling coke and selling this and selling sex toys and selling. I was like, okay, I'm in for the ride. Let's go. I was very happy with the film. I'm not gonna say this is a film I can rewatch every time, but I was still happy with the film. Very good.
Awesome, Daniel.
First time watch for me. This was super juvenile, raunchier than I expected.
Troma.
A lot of fun, goofy, silly, deeply stupid fun. Relatively painless to sit through. There's a lot of kind of good stuff here. I like the this kind of quartet format where you do kind of have several different narratives. Nothing really wears out its welcome, which is nice about that. None of the interior stories are all that original, which is kind of the there's nothing original here. But this is one. I guess it's a little bit late for the drive-in era, but I could see this as being like a perfect kind of drive-in. You're not really paying attention to it kind of movie, or something that would just kind of exist in that kind of early VHS era. Yeah, no, I probably won't watch this again anytime soon, but this was definitely a goofy, fun watch. So recommended for sure.
This is very much like if you think you've seen raunchy sex comedies from the 80s, this movie tries to outdo all those, basically, is what this is. It borders on softcore porn in several segments. Like, honestly, it's basically just gags broken up by softcore porn.
I was really expecting you to give me the, you're big and hard and warm, and you should go a foot further down because you're in my belly button. That should have been the intro for me.
This is, so I was saying this basically sort of goes with what the Troma formula going forward is, where it's so packed with gags and gross out shit that it's basically throw everything to the wall and see what sticks kind of idea. I think it's kind of neat that it's an anthology film. Like, you don't really see sex comedies that are anthology films, really. And that's kind of what this is, even though, basically all these people are just virgins, like, making up stories about the first time they had sex. Although, like, you got to kind of think that at least something along the lines of their stories actually happened to them, because they're so disparaging towards the actual characters in some parts that it's like, you would never lie about that,
Well, I feel like there's a certain degree of, like, the characters are sort of telling the story, and so it sort of highlights a sort of version of these events that is, highly, biased towards the narrator. But at the same time, like, the filmmaker who is, like, turning it into a movie is then twisting against that and giving, like, counter narratives within each person's story. And I can sort of interpret that as being, like, this is how the other people listening to the story are kind of imagining things are actually happening,
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, because once they get trapped in this cave, everybody in this little group seems super into hearing about how these people had sex the first time. Like, they're like really into it.
Yeah,
I like to think it's slow oxygen starvation.
So they see it. Yeah, well, all life is slow oxygen starvation.
Yeah, pretty much. But so yeah, it's like a gag a minute formula. A lot of the humor here is body fluid forward, I guess is the best way to put it. There's ejaculation jokes, piss jokes, which is something Troma does in almost every movie going forward. Fart jokes, double entendres, a mile a minute. So it's one of those ones where I think the ratio of gags to actually being funny actually fairly works. Like, I found myself chuckling quite a few times watching this, like I thought it was pretty good. And it's not remotely politically correct. Like, there's some stuff.
No, that's good.
Yeah. Like, this movie makes no pretenses about what it is. There's just one sequence in this film where this group of possibly gay black muggers assault a white woman. and they're
trying to steal her purse.
Yeah, and
they say that's my purse. Very, very effeminate black men, and then our hero wanders in with a pizza in clan robes, which where he's accidentally put this on as a Halloween costume, because it's 1983 and nobody got that joke.
I love the fact that it's so good because you're laughing, trying to tell the joke of the story in the movie that's a joke, and that means it worked because you guys I love that. It's so good.
Broadly, I mean, it's definitely something that South Park is going to like kind of pick up 15 years from now and do a slightly more nuanced version of this gag.
It's the thing about all the humor in this film is it's so fucking absurd that even like the stuff that on its face would probably be offensive today, it's like if you're actually offended by it, you're probably reading a little too much into the intent.
Like for instance, like let me just give you an example. If anybody's offended by Blazing Saddles, you're a moron. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's supposed to be offensive to make the joke of what it's being offensive by. Like that's the point. You know what I mean? Like it's the not
humor. Yeah, the humor here is like I would say broadly on the same level of Blazing Saddles in the sense that this stuff's so stupid. Like
it's just ridiculously stupid, and laugh at it because there you go.
I'd argue Mel Brooks is a far better writer than whoever.
Jewish.
Blazing Saddles has like a satirical edge to it that this doesn't have. You know, there's no like commentary about anything in this.
I will say there are people that literally are offended by Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are bits of Blazing. I mean, we don't have to have this conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's just it's dumb to be offended by anything like that. It's just stupid. It's satirical. It's supposed to be made fun of. That's the point.
But I would say like this is, in some ways, it's kind of like the quintessential 1980s sex comedy, ambition-wise, because it doesn't give a fuck, and it's like really pushing that R rating. Yeah. You know, it's going.
It is, and I'm gonna go fucking fisticuffs with Lee now because we're gonna fight because that's what happens when you disagree, you fight. It's not true Troma though. Because Troma now Troma. Well, they would have had Michelle Bauer in there naked like all the time.
Well, they couldn't afford Michelle
Bauer because she was that fucking good, but because she is fucking fantastic. But like even like, oh, I'm sorry I puked in your punch, she would have threw up everywhere like buckets of vomit. Well, this like on like the prom queen and prom king because that's what Troma does now. They go level.
That's what they do now. They didn't have the money here.
Yeah,
like,
no.
You know,
but But I love the fact that, like you said, this is the foundation of Troma, what it is now. I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, you brought up Michelle Bauer, so that like that's a super attractive woman who's porn star quality sort of attractiveness, the sort of expected attractiveness you have for women. All the women in this are really attractive, but they're very varied in the way they look, which is something I appreciated this. Like you got Sheila Kennedy, the one legit penthouse playmate here, or pet or whatever that she is. That
penthouse pet, get it right, sir.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I didn't really, that wasn't my dirty magazine that I read. So, that, you know.
Yeah.
I don't read anything in magazines. I just look. I don't know what you're talking about.
You didn't read them for the articles?
What the? Yes.
But no, but she's like obviously like the supermodel version that you would see in a lot of these sex comedies. But everyone else is just like, you know, amateur actors.
Yeah, they look like people. They look like people, like attractive people, but they look like people.
People are good. Yeah. I like people.
Mm.
Lots of man ass in this. Lots of very pale man ass. Yeah,
I love man ass.
Yeah,
that's why I like Sleepaway Camp so much. It's a sausage fest.
Also, the young man masturbatory technique in the bed there, thrusting upwards into the sheets.
Yeah,
something tells me he needs to learn better techniques. You know, and like I understand when you're young and you just discovered masturbation.
Yeah.
You know, I understand. I'm just saying, like he needs someone to kind of help him out to use your hand, buddy.
He needs to slow his roll down a little bit.
Slow your roll a little bit.
Because mom and dad ain't going to buy you a new bid there, Charlie. It's just like,
you're burning out your rotator cuff, buddy. Just slow down.
I mean, this is also like just, I think, quintessential in a way where it's like the most 1980s kind of sex comedy you can kind of see just because of the fashion.
Yeah.
It's so 1980s fashion and hairstyles that it's almost painful.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. And I like the fact that they're building on the I don't know awkwardness of everything. Mm-hmm. They are building on that awkward I don't fucking know what I'm doing shit, and I like that. I think everything's good. I like the fact that the camp counselor is getting double penetrated in the fucking bowling alley as a first talk. You know, but yeah, I'm sure you are. There you go. Good.
And she's bored by it. She's
bored by it. Yeah.
Oh, she's being double penetrated by two twins.
Yeah. in a bowling alley.
Well, and based on the writing, at first you think like, it's like a sort of visual metaphor for, like it's unclear about whether she's saying like he's twice the man this other guy was.
She literally is twice the man.
And it literally is like, oh yeah, I got railed by twins on a bowling on a lane in a bowling alley. Like that's
she does kind of speak about them in sort of like a singular way.
Yeah. No. I think that's again like where it's almost like the dialogue is doing one thing and the images are doing something slightly different. I think there's an interesting dynamic. I don't know how like thoughtful it is, but it's kind of an interesting experience to watch. It does kind of give there is a narrative tension.
There is a lot of artistic weird vibes to this film, especially towards the end when they all kind of congregate together and do their little bit there that free themselves.
But they have orgy?
Very orgiastically, artistically, so.
Yeah, because so they're trapped in the cave. They've all told their stories. They all realize that they're all fucking virgins. And then there's this threat that, the cave's gonna, they're gonna die in the cave. So they're all like huddled up against each other. And then suddenly you see them all huddled up without any clothes all of a sudden. It almost goes into like fantasy territory in a way. Mm-hmm. And
we're back to conquest.
It's the end of Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. All of a sudden,
right. Or conquest, yeah.
We're going conquest, people.
Or Zardoz.
No, we cannot handle that cod piece in this film. You better just slow your roll there.
I would like to imagine, like in the remake of this, that one of those guys tells the story of like it was the post-apocalyptic future. I was wearing a giant cod piece. The gun is good. The penis is evil.
That'd actually be kind of awesome if they had actually like spoofed Zardoz in this film just out of the blue.
I mean, you could do a version of this where you just go like really far out there, with what's going on with this. No.
But yeah, so they have their orgy and shit, and it's kind of it's this movie. I think it's just kind of like weirdly progressive by mistake because there's like no rape in the film, really.
No,
and I was gonna say that I was actually like poking my wife. Look, no rape, and then suddenly the guy tries to rape Mona there. He tries, but he fails. But like it's a pretty like it's, and then she's like, oh no, I'll go sleep with the nerdy guy and the penthouse pet. Like that's the that's how that works.
The film punishes scumbags. Like it really
does. It does.
So it's weird that way. And then of course you could argue some sort of like semi-homosexual kind of thing with the orgy in the end there.
Hey, it's not gay as long as you keep your socks on.
It's not gay unless the tarantula walks across your penis.
Oh, I'd pay for
that. I've seen this before a couple times, but I was pleasantly like surprised revisiting it. Just how like interesting it was. A lot of these movies, if you look at like 1990s softcore stuff, like you look at like your Bikini Car Washes, Dinosaur Island, stuff like that. You have softcore scenes, but the shit in between them are just like boring and they're not well written.
Yeah,
funny. This at least has something interesting going on.
Actually, it's actually more entertaining than the softcore scenes. That's the point.
Even the stuff that fails, like even the gags that don't hit, at least you can see they're trying for something. And then I just like it. It's like it's got a charm to it.
I felt like the stuff at the camp was a little bit like, I don't care.
Yeah. I was enthralled.
There were a couple of good gags there. There's like the like where they're making the they've got to do the sculptures, which I thought was a kind of a neat little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pull the blanket off that black chick who's just all of a sudden posing, and then immediately you see like half of them are like trying to form tits
right
from their clay.
Every time Melvin was on, I was enthralled.
That's quite the performance. Like you got to give it to that guy. Like he's only had a handful of movies, but that's a pretty brave performance because he just goes super gross. Like
I mean, this guy's got a face for fucking radio and a voice for silent movies, and he still doesn't.
Yeah, he's done up with zits on his face, and for some reason we're supposed to believe that the Michelle character finds him super attractive, and her parents are okay with him too because he's so charming.
I kind of got the impression that he was supposed to be like super wealthy, And that was the, like, it doesn't matter what, it's kind of like one of those like American Psycho things where like, yeah, you can murder anybody as long as you're like a rich ass Wall Street asshole. I can't imagine it was that sort of thing.
That's actually like reality though.
Yeah.
Like,
it kind of is, yeah.
I kind of got a like a Monty Python and the Meaning of Life vibe, where like the guy's like throwing up in the middle of the fancy restaurant, but because
I can't eat another bit. Fuck off! That's only a little thin wafer.
Because he's fucking like he just goes for it like with gross shit. He's eating those fucking chickens and shit. He just shoving it in his mouth and putting it through his fucking hair and slicking his hair back with the fucking chicken guts and shit. Like, all right, dude. I got to give it to you.
You got to think salmonella pomade. That's the
Oh shit! I think my favorite sequence is the one with Sheila Kennedy in it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's probably the most true to 80s sex comedy kind of thing. On the beach, hot chick kind of stuff.
It's probably the one that you can see expanded into a full film.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen this movie before. It's nice to see the like 10-minute version of it, but this is one where you could see the full extended version of that.
Yeah. Although, dude says, "Oh, so me and my brother went to the Caribbean." It's like that's clearly not that.
Well, really, what it is a fucking beer commercial, man. Like particularly like a beer commercial. They're literally like they're just sitting at the beach, and then like there are a bunch of like women like talking about like, oh no, he's gonna rail me tonight instead of the other girl or whatever, and they're all just kind of dancing and partying, and he's like sitting and making out with one girl, and I mean it's literally like you live inside a beer commercial, and I mean there is that sort of like logic of well, since this is sort of we later learn that this is a fantasy version of this is this is a big lie. Totally makes sense that's kind of the version he tells. That's the kind of like, oh yeah, I went to the beach with my older brother when I was younger, kind of story that you'd tell if you were 17 years old and a virgin and didn't have a large perspective on life.
There's that whole line of chicks at the beach who start singing along to the soundtrack and start dancing.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks the fourth wall, which is kind of fun.
The film does kind of do that in a couple of different ways. So
I was right into it as soon as Tito came out and said the plane, and then I was like, I'm done now.
And you got the big fat guy with the fucking metal detector, and he finds another metal detector in the sand, which is pretty funny.
That's a pretty fucking good metal detector to find it that deep, though. That's
he digs pretty deep, yeah.
Only the best here.
So going just in that segment on the soundtrack, I do want to mention. So one of the bands on the soundtrack, most of them are just like nobodies. It's just like Troma found a studio with studio musicians, and they recorded some shit and did it under a name, basically, kind of. But one of the bands on the soundtrack is Shrapnel, which is the first band that Dave Warndorf from Monster Magnet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, is in. And I can't find that fucking Sleepover song anywhere on studio version. I do have a live version of it that I found, but it pisses me off to no end because it's kind of a Ramones-esque kind of thing, kind of came from the same scene, which I just really like. It pisses me off that I can't fucking find it.
This is not the first, nor will it be the last time that we have frustrations with low-budget films and their soundtracks.
Yeah. But
amateurs.
Overall, I really like this film. Like it's fun. It's not something I watch all the time or anything like that. But it's like if I put it on, I can watch it and enjoy it just because it really is charming. It really is charming.
Yeah.
It is. It has a charming quality to it. Like I said, I'm not going to watch it over and over again or anything, but I could put it on and not have a problem with it. It's definitely a party film. Definitely a film if you know someone into genres like this or Troma. Oh, if you want to see a Troma film, here you go. Feast your loving eyes on this and see what you think. That kind of thing. And if you like this, then we get some sick shit afterwards.
I do have a question for you guys, though. Would you guys eat cave donuts?
I would eat anything that comes out of an ass.
Not only donuts, but like Popeye's chicken and all kinds of stuff. Like this guy, like apparently it's like a really delicate noise ecosystem down there, like the slightest. And yet this guy has very clearly carried a whole lot of food down there.
Yes.
This is just what I keep for like a little snack. For
Yeah.
down,
One time I remember we were playing in this field once in this giant mound pits of dirt and stuff, and I found a Snickers bar. It was still wrapped, and I was like, "It's a king size Snickers bar. I'm not getting this up." So I unwrapped it and I ate it. And it was good. Fuck it.
I don't get what he was planning for though, because this is supposed to be the last day of camp.
Well, you don't understand how much food he ate before that.
I guess not, because it's the last day of camp, but like all the activities, it makes it feel like you're in the middle of the summer.
He must have been a Boy Scout, because Boy Scout is BP. Be prepared. Be prepared for a buffet with 6-course meals.
I like to think he like planned this whole thing. He was kind of like he had it all rigged.
If I trap these suckers in here, I'll fuck one of them.
His fart was intentional. He's the secret villain of this fucking.
So what you're saying is
secret heroes.
It's actually a evil rape drama. Is what you're saying? Like evil. It's not a sex comedy.
Really, what this is it's the usual suspects in sex comedy.
It's a criminal
form,
drama. Is where we. Oh shit!
Like there's a scene at the end where like he starts walking off camera, and then suddenly he starts walking more normally. And then it pans up, and then it turns out that he's actually,
he's Officer Doofy from fucking Scary Movie.
Oh God, yeah, So he his fart that started the cave-in was all planned.
Yes, it was all planned.
Just so he could get those two women to give him a
He
look.
won the chili cook-off just to have this happen. Yes, yes.
I like that headcanon. That makes the movie very sinister, but
especially since that's like the one kind of like likable character. He's like the one actor who
especially when and he's the one with two girls kissing him down all the way to his dick at the end. He's like, I got it all.
I will say, I think all the actors in this are actually pretty good. Even the one-timers who just have bit parts, they kind of pull off the sort of goofy charm of this thing. Again, going back to 1990s softcore sex comedies where the acting is generally really bad and you just want to really skip right to the sex scenes. Here it's I actually like these characters and I want to see what they're saying and doing.
Mm-hmm. It helps that they're not asked to do all that much, and most of what they're asked to do, the world is so kind of big and over and cartoonish that it kind of papers over any kind of weaknesses in performance, because you can just kind of play it off as what do you expect?
Yeah. Think shit.
So we have anything else we want to bring up about this, or
the Annie story? We didn't kind of mention that one, and this is the one where the home invader kind of comes in and tries to. Take her, he puts a butter knife to her neck, and then turns out he really just wants some milk and cookies, and not in a lascivious or metaphorical way. He actually is just hungry. And then she takes him to the barn, and in the telling of the tale, she describes, and then he ripped my clothes off and ravished me. But in the version that we see on screen, it's the other way around. And I thought that was a neat little reversal there.
It actually totally reminds me of something I epically failed on when I talked about Redneck Zombies, because there's a part where the guy's selling the hooch from door to door, and he walks in. The one guy, the girl's duct taped, crying. The guy's sharpening knives next to her, poking her and stuff. The other guy comes out completely covered in blood with an apron, and he's like, "Oh, you're late. I'm sorry, I'm late, but here's your hooch. Okay, bye." And just shuts the door and walks off. The girl's like, "What the fuck? Get over here!" I'm like, totally forgot to mention that. I am so sorry. Holy fuck, Jesus, that's a good part. It just totally reminded me of that. So sorry about. Fuck Annie, but I just remember that.
I would fuck Annie.
I would fuck everybody.
I think Annie's the hottest one, except for Sheila Kennedy.
I know. Actually, I like Michelle. She looks goofy and she'd take it in the ass and ass to mouth the whole night. She looks like. I
think everyone in the film looks like they take it ass to mouth.
Yeah.
You know what? And maybe that's why I like the film so much. That Donnie guy, he'd look like he'd do ass to mouth. I like that.
Yeah.
They all looked like they were pretty open to stuff.
I was gonna say, if they made the whole film now in 2019, it was like the 3 guys would be in one part of the cave and the 2 girls would be the other part of the cave, and they'd just be doing their thing.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty. And then they swap back, swap back. Pretty much.
Well, I mean, there's almost a scene here where there's some lesbian stuff almost happens, where it's like, and it's again in the Annie sequence where they're all having the slumber party or whatever.
Oh yeah. Like there's a straight up girl kiss, and very nearly a kind of like more aggressive
muff kiss
with tongue.
Yeah. I love the you need to. Okay, we're gonna turn the lights off. Whoever jacks off first is the fucking winner of the. I told Lee. I said this guy from the Navy. He told us a story about the cracker game where 5 guys get around this cracker, and he always changes the end of the story where whoever comes on the cracker first either loses or wins, and then the loser or the winner gets to eat the cracker or not eat the cracker. And I'm like, motherfucking cracker, I'd be lying on the floor waiting to catch all you motherfuckers first. That's what I'd be doing.
We learn a lesson from this film, don't we? If you actually jerk off in a woman's food and she eats it, she's going to be all over you.
Well, here's the thing is, I will like to tell you, I'm not going to say who and how many times. That's a lie. Because I've came in numerous people's food, and none of them have wanted me afterwards.
No sex resulted from it?
No, they don't know about it to this day. Even my mom, but still, nobody. Oh, shut the fuck up! But nobody. I'm just saying that's not true.
Speaking of that, I mean, in the story in Henry's story, like he has sex with a girl, and then she doesn't come, and then she's like, "Yeah, no." Like he's like, "Oh, why didn't you come?" Or you didn't seem like you had a great time. And she's like, "Oh, you got to do it with something else." And then she has him go down on her. Like he eats some cream pie, which is again progressive move for 1983
that
movie.
Is very, very progressive. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like what is this? Is this like a 1970s sex education video? All of a sudden, it's like sometimes the women will not come from intercourse.
Yeah,
so you will have to stimulate her with your mouth
with a jacksaw.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean it's weird like how crazy this film is, and yet at the same time it's like kind of sensible about sex and stuff. It's
I like the fact that it's like innocently juvenile, but yet crazily stupid at the same time.
I mean, it reminds me a lot of Screwballs in terms of in terms of the juvenilia, the level of the humor, but it's better.
Say juvenilia one more time.
Juvenilia.
Oh, that sounds kind of naughty. It does.
Yeah,
I like it.
It sounds arrestable. It's what it sounds like.
Juvophilia is that where we're going?
Well, that makes it even worse.
Yeah, you took it that next level.
It's a Jeffrey Epstein, moment there.
We just went totally Joe Biden.
How did you lose your virginity? Well, I was on a plane.
I don't know. Once over,
there were a bunch of billionaires.
Yeah. Over so many thousand feet, juvenilia doesn't happen.
Yeah, you get in international waters. DVD info for this. There is a region-free DVD. There's actually multiple DVD versions of this, but your best bet is actually going directly to TromaDirect.com, where you can just buy it from them, and you'll get probably the best version. But you can also get this on Rare Lust on YouTube, Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime has it. It's a free watch video.
I've always had a really good luck with Troma films on eBay. So definitely check out eBay.
Yeah, do that too. Although they might be bumping the prices for this stuff because I don't think it's been released in a while, and there's no Blu-ray.
A lot of stuff on eBay, like in Troma, I've bought for $5 or less.
Yeah, Troma is selling this for like $9 on Troma Direct. So,
that's not bad though. That is fucking cheap as shit. And then you support Troma directly, and they might send you really cool stuff with your package, like stickers and postcards and shit. I think
they generally do that. Yeah, they're pretty.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Shit. So yeah.
My only question is, how do we get to episode 172 and just now do a Troma film? How did that happen?
I don't know.
Is this our first Troma film?
It's our first Troma film, yeah.
That means you have failed as a host. I'm sorry.
The podcast is over. Sorry.
I'm done. This is my last.
Paul retires.
I retire now. I'm sorry. I did kiss my granddaughter. I gotta go.
It's a good run, but
I'm sorry.
So again, Vincent D'Onofrio's film debut is Lobotomy.
Yep.
Basically playing Private Pile. That's kind of what he's doing here.
He's got about 5 lines, and there is that thing of when you watch these movies and there's like one guy who turns out to be like, oh yeah, he's going to go on to have like a really long career, and you can usually tell. You can usually tell.
The one trivia thing, and this apparently comes from the commentary with Lloyd Kaufman, if you listen to the DVD. Apparently, Madonna originally auditioned for the part of Annie Goldberg, but she was rejected. So there you go.
Was rejected.
They said no to Madonna in 1983. My God.
I guess her,
that's before she was. I mean, that's
that was before Like a Virgin and all that stuff.
Right? I mean, where did her career go?
Yeah, I mean, imagine,
Actually, where would her career?
Imagine how big she could be if she had gotten that little leg up there. Yeah,
I was gonna say, like if she went to this, maybe we would never have had to heard her fucking shitty voice ever again. That'd be so good.
Well, that's the kind of thing. Like, would this have like sunk her recording career? She got naked on screen for.
I'd hope so. Yeah, the sex book didn't do shit.
Given Madonna's like kind of early years, I imagine that wouldn't have. I mean, she had already done nudity, like she had done like nude modeling before.
Right.
I will say that like a Virgin, if you actually hear like a Virgin, so, like she's changed a lot over the years. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah, she's no longer a virgin.
Well, no, she wasn't a virgin when she said that, but like the way she
wasn't.
She sounds very teen poppy. And then she has just changed to something else because
it's almost like she's like 60 years old.
No. I mean, like in that short little span of like 5 or 6 years, her when she first came out to where she was, she actually changed quite a bit.
Oh yeah, no,
she really started doing
David Bowie in that way, where she's like constantly transforming herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Although I'd still argue David Bowie's way better.
He's dead though.
He's still way better.
You can't do anything better than that, bitch.
You can bring his corpse. You can dig him up and put him in a fucking recording studio, and I'd still say he's probably better than Madonna's making these days. But
my question is, what if Madonna had been in a Troma film, and then she hit it big? What would that have done to Troma if they had like a Madonna movie to rest on?
Well, here's the thing: Troma has acquired films with stars in their first roles. I believe Troma released the one that Kevin Costner was in, which was a sex comedy, and they re-released that multiple times. So they would have made a lot of bank off of fucking Madonna.
Yeah. Especially in that role. I mean, that's a pretty good, Madonna orgy. We should say,
orgy. Yeah.
Madonna getting penetrated.
I will say one more time. I've said this before and I've said this again. There's so many people, you can argue this and whatever, but there are so many people that say, I don't like horror. I don't like horror movies. I don't like this. All horror movies are crap. If you really look back through the 80s and 70s, generally, I want to say 90% of the people that are major stars today, especially, all started in fucking horror films.
Or sex comedy, something like that.
Yeah. So if you don't like that, well, guess what? Without horror, them starting, you wouldn't have most of the films you like today. So go fuck yourself. All right. Buddy?
Well, and here's where we're gonna land on this. In 20 more years, you're gonna say the same thing about YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
Everybody would have started on YouTube in 20 or 30. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish none of us started on YouTube. I think YouTube wasn't a thing.
That's incredibly sad compared to them starting in like some low budget horror movie.
If it wasn't for They Must Be Destroyed on Sight, most of these people that we know today wouldn't be here.
That's true.
We're gonna start like bringing actors on to do like guest hosting gigs. Yeah, and they're gonna end up being Oscar winners in 30 years. It's gonna be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Greg Bylowski got a start on They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. And look at him now. He's making millions, and he won't return our calls.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think next time...
we stretched this one out. Okay, we made this happen. All right, we're good.
Yeah, we did. This is all us. Yep.
We stretched it out like we were,
like
in a cave, having an orgy.
Clay. Like we were...
Yeah, we've spread the clay, Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts, promotional material there, and Popeye's chicken, actual Popeye's chicken. That was a surprise.
And randomly had like a big cheese wheel as well.
Yeah,
Which
imagine if
that actually, I love the Jagersist cheese wheel because that's all Swiss cheese from Jagersist. I was like, oh my god, why do you have a whole fucking cheese wheel, Swiss cheese?
Although I will say that's something you would probably see in a cave, being aged in a cave.
Yeah, no.
Maybe that's how it started.
Cheese.
He found it. Cheese. He found the wheel of cheese, and then went like, "Oh, I got to get some more snacks down here to go with my cheese."
Oh, now I need crackers. Now I need dried meat. Now I need some.
Now we're gonna have to get some Popeyes. We got to get some donuts, and so yeah.
Like this whole wheel of cheese has completely ruined my idea. Now we got to go back to the store.
And then he doesn't bring any beverages down. Like literally, the only water they have is like one person has a canteen. Oh God, we didn't even talk about the guy who's like claims to be the big coxman, right? And then like it turns out he's just reading the stuff off his hand. And it's like, get her nice and wet, and then he like dumps a bucket of water over her. Like,
there you go.
Because when I was like 9 years old, that's what I thought that was too, and it's like this very very like you gotta get her wet, like. You have to give her water. Like, is that how that works? I like
how his last thing on his list is Zingo.
Yeah.
Zingo.
Yeah, he's like this Eric Estrada motherfucker who it's just like I know what it takes.
I do admire the level of body hair in this film, particularly in those like handful of guys at the beginning. It's like, some hairy motherfuckers.
I would have wished a little bit more body hair on the women. I like that. So.
Yeah, well.
They didn't have a budget for fucking.
Just go Google image search for Sheila Kennedy, and I think you'll be very happy.
Yes, indeed. I was doing research, and there are some fine shots of her.
I did a deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
And, shit! Deep dive.
Not as deep as the character there who got the fucker in the bed, but
you don't know that.
I guess not. I'm just speculating. What can I say?
I do real research for this, Lee.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You don't know where my research takes me when I do this. When I do these episodes.
Well, Sheila Kennedy still has a career. Like she
still has a career, and she still looks great. Honestly, she's like 62 or 50, whatever. Yeah. No, she looks great.
126.
Now 57, and she's basically just. I wouldn't even say cougar. She's still a MILF. She's just,
Well, I mean, that's close to some of our ages.
Yeah. No, she's hot.
We're old Ben. We're old Ben. It's fine.
Yeah. She was in Big Brother. One of the Big Brothers.
Big Brother 9, apparently.
Yeah. So enough of this nonsense. Next time we're going to be doing California Dreaming from 1979. That's
cool.
And that was a Jeff Williams pick. So
said Sandusky Point at some point in time.
Yeah. Also a thing on the list. Paul, where can people find you on the interwebs?
PA Brew News, YouTube, and Twitter. Oil Paintings by P. Romali on Facebook. And when you do Oil Paintings by P. Romali on Instagram, please put underscores between the words. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
All right, awesome. Daniel, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Find me on Twitter at Daniel Lee Harper. I do a podcast called I Don't Speak German. You can find a link below. That is a podcast that is not about German people, but about Nazis and modern Nazis and the terrible things they say in their safe spaces. Check that out if you are so inclined.
Yeah. And you can find us at tmbdos.podbean.com, where you can find our Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Facebook links. Join the Facebook group. Best way to find out what the fuck's going on, because half the time we don't know, but when we find out, we let you guys know.
When Jeff Williams tells us what we're going to do, that's how we find out. Yeah.
It's kind of it's like, man, if we had a Patreon, he'd be the paymaster at this point. I kind of think, like, although join the Patreon, and you can get some like behind the scenes stuff. Like, actually, no, you can't.
You have a Patreon?
No, actually, we don't.
I don't think so. You fuck.
Yeah. You thought you were missing out on stuff, did you, Paul?
Yeah, I make like $100 an episode to do this, Paul.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Where are my pennies, you son of a bitch? At least I get a free shirt that says I do this fucking podcast, and all I got was this free shirt.
I feel like that's a shirt we should provide to the guest host. You know, not that Paul's a guest host, but you know.
I was on TMBDOS and all I got was this fucking shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're done. Let's get the fuck out of here. This is stupid. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
One doesn't speak. One's a volcano with down a spring leak. Go to the station, get it fixed up. When it comes to ladies, I'm all mixed up. Get in my engine, go for a whirl. I said it's easier to fix a car. It fix a girl said. Everybody says try to forget. Like Romeo, you're my Juliet. It's no use and I need your head. Why beg and plead? Come back to me. Why swim the ocean, swallow the sea? To get you back, I'd even fight Ali. But one says I'm crazy, but who says I'm a sane? It's all the time and I missed you, girl. I can't stand your pain, no. Everybody says try to forget. Like Romeo, you're my Juliet. It's no use and I need your head. Why beg and plead? Come on.
You have been listening to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. For other episodes, our links to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and our Facebook group, as well as links to podcasts and websites of similar interest, please visit us at tmbdos.podbean.com. Thank you. Drive through.